So today we're going to talk about the philosophy of Min Yoongi. You might know him as Suga from BTS or by his solo name, Agust D. We're going to get into why his lyrics, which are just so brutally honest, hit so close to home for so many adults who are just trying to figure things out.
You know that feeling when you're listening to a song and you just have to pause because it feels like the artist somehow got a hold of your private journal? That is exactly the power of Min Yoongi's music for literally millions of people. He has this incredible way of putting words to those super specific unspoken feelings. You know, like that Sunday night dread or that nagging fear that you're just on the completely wrong path in life.
So let's start with the first big idea in his philosophy. And it's a huge one. It's all about challenging that intense pressure we all feel to have some kind of grand, singular dream. He basically gives us permission to just exist. I mean, think about it. Our whole culture, this whole hustle culture, screams at us that our worth is tied to how productive we are, how ambitious we are. But Yoongi comes in with this totally radical alternative. He asks, what if chasing one massive goal for your entire life isn't the only way to be happy? This quote just nails it, doesn't it? It perfectly captures his whole vibe. And it's not about being aimless or lazy. It's about finding happiness right here, in the present, without being crushed by the weight of some future you're constantly chasing. He's totally redefining success as just being content, not just collecting achievements.
So, how does that message land with you? Honestly, in a world that is completely obsessed with productivity, the idea of having no dream can feel like this huge, massive relief. It's like he's saying, hey, just getting by and finding some peace, that's a victory all by itself. And this idea of letting go of these super rigid expectations, well, that leads us right into another huge theme in his work. This idea of finding comfort in the gray areas and just embracing the messy, complicated middle of life.
We spend so much time feeling anxious about being inconsistent, right? Like we change our minds or we look back and don't even recognize the person we were a year ago. But in his song People, Yoongi basically argues that this isn't a character flaw, it's just a fundamental, unchangeable part of being human.
Wow, this lyric really challenges that whole idea that humans are these perfectly rational, wise beings. Instead, Yoongi suggests that, hey, maybe we're actually defined more by our regrets and our mistakes. It's a pretty sobering thought, but it's also deeply, deeply relatable. Looking at it this way really offers a path to accepting ourselves. If life is just this constant flow of change and happenings, then all our little inconsistencies, well, they aren't failures. They're just proof that we're alive and we're adapting. The goal isn't to be perfect, it's to find some peace inside that chaos.
Now, this embrace of the gray area is probably most powerful when he talks about mental health. In songs like The Last, he doesn't just mention his struggles, no way. He gets so raw and honest, personifying his depression and anxiety in a way that was just groundbreaking.
And this is absolutely crucial. He's not telling some story about being cured. His message is really one of coexistence. He's teaching us that things like anxiety and loneliness, they might just be lifelong companions. And so life becomes this process of learning to make peace with them, not trying to pretend they don't exist. Okay, so now we get to one of the most counterintuitive, almost shocking ideas in his music. The idea that there is real courage in giving up. He frames letting go as this incredible act of bravery. We've all been told our entire lives that winners never quit, right? That perseverance is everything. But have you ever stopped to think that the very thing you're holding on to so tightly might be the thing that's actually holding you back? Yoongi completely flips that script and suggests that real bravery is knowing when to let go. This line from his song Burn It just reframes the whole idea of quitting. It's not a failure. It's a conscious, decisive, and courageous choice to stop pouring your energy into something that just isn't serving you anymore, whether that's a dream, a job, a relationship, or even an old version of yourself. So what is it about all these ideas, right? Redefining your dreams, embracing your messy, imperfect self, and having the courage to quit. What is it that makes them resonate so deeply with adults who are just trying to get through life? Well, I think this gets right to the heart of it. We are drowning in toxic positivity. You know, that simplistic advice that just tells you to be happy and completely dismisses real struggle. Yoongi's music does the exact opposite. It offers validation. It doesn't give you easy answers. It sits with you in the dark and says, I get it. This is hard.
And that is probably the most honest thing of all. His music isn't a prescription. It's not a self-help book that promises to solve all your problems. Because, let's be real, life is way too complicated for simple solutions. So, here's the final takeaway, the big idea. His lyrics aren't a cure. They're a mirror. They reflect our own messy, complicated, and sometimes beautiful struggles right back at us. And in doing that, they make us feel seen, understood, and just a little less alone.
Ultimately, the power of his music isn't about finding answers in his words, but about finding yourself in his words. So, as we wrap this up, I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Which of his lyrics has been a mirror for you?